Hi, welcome back to the SMYB YouTube channel. Let's make a knife. Got an order from a customer to make a knife out of cable Damascus. So I got a piece of cable in the backyard here. Cut a piece of it off and forge it down. Actually used it in my lathe to make it round and get rid of some of the inclusions. It's about 6 inches long. Throw it in the forge, and then we're going to start to widen it out. So we're going to use the press to squish it and widen it. Step 1, step 2 there. And then we're going to flatten it out and turn it into this billet right here. That's where we're going to start. There is the Hell's Forge starting to fire up, and now you can see that it is glowing hot. So there's our billet. What we need to do in order to get some length out of this knife is we need to forge down the part of the handle. This is going to be a hidden tang knife, so we need to stretch out the tang. We're going to shorten it down and stretch it out so we can keep the blade as long as possible for this particular bit. There you can see it's already heated and we're into the first forge. We're going to try to get that tang stretched out. We're using the Big Blue 50-ton press there in the back. Awesome press. It will squish some stuff. So right here in my very first heat, I started having some delaminations between some of the cables in the Damascus. So I got out some of the borax to try to get some of the impurities out of there and get it forged back together, which turned out relatively successful on this particular knife. So as we go through this, you can see that blades start to take a different shape as we go. And I'm going to turn it back over to Ollie and Ollie again, see if they can help us out with some play-by-play announcements. Thanks for watching, everybody, and enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. It is a pleasure to return to your amazing shop for another adventure. This first step is very exciting.
You're right, Ollie. This is awesome. Fire, fire, fire. Heating and beating. What a better way to start.
I agree completely, Ollie. We are going to have some fun here. We're getting close now. Almost done.
That was pretty dang cool, but kind of scary at the same time. That heat is intense.
Indeed. You can see from these pictures that Kenneth has traced out the billet and cut the blade to its final shape. We will now be moving over to the belt grinder to clean everything up and flatten the sides.
Hey, that's the surface grinding attachment for the Reader Products belt grinder. This thing is super precise. Epic.
That's right, Ollie. The blade is held to the slider using very powerful magnets. The slider precisely moves back and forth to grind a very flat surface. The slider adjusts in and out using a knob on the back, and is measured with that dial indicator. All done. Let's check it out.
Look at that steam. That steel got pretty hot. Before. After. Woo-ee. That is shiny.
Because this is a hidden tang knife, we will be installing a guard on the tang. To ensure the most precise fit possible, Kenneth will be using this file guide to square up a shoulder between the flat of the blade and the tang. He'll start with a round file to radius the corners to avoid a stress point where the blade may crack and break.
What is a file guide?
Good question, Ollie. A file guide is a precisely ground frame that is square and flat. It has two strips of carbide attached to the top that will not be affected by the file. When the filing is complete, the shoulders will be square and flat. When the guard is attached, there will be no gaps between the guard and the blade.
That's smart. I just hope that he doesn't try to show a close-up shot with the GoPro camera again. Doesn't he know that this camera doesn't focus that close?
There he goes. You called it. Maybe he'll learn for next time.
Time to lay out the grind lines, calculate the angle, and set up the grinding jig.
Time to grind the primary bevels. Looks like that side is done. Time for side number 2.
Would you look at that? Dang.
Moving on. We are starting on the guard and spacer. We need to slot the center to slide over the tang. The first step is to locate the part using an edge finder. He will indicate the leading edge of the y-axis first and 0, the digital readout. Then indicate the back of the part. Using the 1/2 function on the DRO, it will set the 0 point to the center of the part.
Now he just has to do the same thing on the x-axis, right, Ollie?
Correct. You're right on top of that, Rose. Changing out the edge finder for the 1/8 inch end mill to begin cutting. Kenneth has set up the end stops for the power feed to slot this hole more efficiently.
Wait. What are you saying?
This milling machine has a motor connected to the x-axis that allows automatic movement. There are 2 adjustable posts on the table that activate a switch to stop the feed in either direction at a specific point. It is now set up this way so that he can flip the switch on the motor to move the table both directions, and it will stop at the right place each time.
Epic.
Now it's time for the guard. All the setup has been duplicated for this part, and we can see the slot being milled as efficiently as the spacer.
Back to the blade. What's happening here, Ollie?
Kenneth is going to grind bevels for the spear point on this blade. This will make it look astonishing. I believe that we are getting very close to the heat treating step. That's my favorite part.
Here it is, Ollie. Are you ready for this?
Let me tell you, Ollie, I am so intensely excited. I can barely contain myself. It's taking all of the self-control that I have to remain as professional as possible. Maybe you should take over for a few minutes, Ollie.
Have no fear, partner. I'll drive this ship for you. Looks like Murphy is showing us how straight the blade is now. We are all hoping that it will stay that straight during the quenching. That's a pretty violent process for the steel, and warping is common. It also looks like he's preheated the oven to help control grain growth during heating. Nice tong flip, mate. Now that is epic. Kenneth told me that his favorite son-in-law bought him that flamethrower so that he can heat up the quench oil before quenching. I need to meet that guy and have a Foster's or 2 with him. That is about perfect. We want the Park's 50 quench oil to be at 120 degrees. Hotter oil cools the steel quicker and more even. 130 is close enough for this shop. Here we go, Ollie. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, let's do this. That is so hot.
1475 degrees to be exact. The blade is now hardened, but it's very brittle and will break easily. We are going to put it in the freezer to do a poor man's cryo treatment, and then temper the blade to put some elasticity back in the steel.
Well now, wasn't that exciting? I really do love that part. We didn't film the tempering process as it is rather uneventful. He just places the blade in the oven at 350 degrees for 1 hour. After that, he pulls it out to let it cool and repeats the process a second time. Here is the hardened and tempered parts. The guard and spacer went through the same processes that was shown with the blade. This is the arduous task of hand sanding. Even though we will be etching these parts, they need to be sanded to at least 600 grit and clean as possible. After the etching, we will not be able to sand again without ruining the look of the parts.
That does not look very exciting, but this does seem like a very important step in the process.
Indeed.
Dang, look at that shine.
We are going to etch all of the parts to bring out the patterns in the Damascus. Kenneth is using ferric chloride from gator piss to etch the parts. It is imperative to make sure that the parts are very clean before dipping into the acid. These parts only need to soak for 10 minutes before pulling them out and neutralizing the acid with ammonia glass cleaner and then drenched in oil to prevent rusting. He will then hang the parts up overnight to let the oxides bond to the steel.
Whoa, very nice.
Unfortunately, Ollie has lost the footage of the handle being made. While this saddens all of us, we will just move along and never mention it again.
Sorry about that, everybody. I had too many drinks down at the watering hole last night, and I was completely out of my mind. It really wasn't my fault. This epic Sheila was throwing signals at me all night, making it impossible to leave. That night was amazing. Let me just say that that woman was a knockout.
Ollie, please. We do not need to hear about all of that. Please focus. Kenneth is securing the guard, spacer and handle to the blade using epoxy that has been colored with black pigment, which will make it easier to see when cleaning off the squeeze-out when it is clamped. He has secured a wood clamp to the blade to give the squeeze clamp a place to hold on. After all of the squeeze-out is cleaned up, the knife will sit overnight to allow for curing.
It would be better if you aimed the camera a little better, Ollie. We can barely see what is going on.
My bad. You weren't the only one that visited the pub last night. Time for a buff job on the handle. Gotta make that wood shine. No knife is complete without some sort of sheath. For this knife, we will be making a leather sheath. It starts by making a template that will be used to cut out the leather. Kenneth has traced the entire knife to make this template a custom fit for this knife.
Did you say that you went to the bar last night, Ollie?
Well, yes, perhaps I did mention it.
That is very surprising for you. You gotta tell me about it. What did you do? Who were you talking to? Did you have fun?
Not now, Ollie. This is neither the time nor the place to discuss such things.
Come on now. We need to know what went down.
A gentleman does not reveal such things. I'm afraid that we will have to move on. Here we see Mr. Murphy cutting out all of the pieces of leather that will be used to make the sheath.
Come on, Ollie. Spill the beans. Tell us all what happened. My curiosity is piqued.
And now assembly begins. He is using contact cement to adhere the leather pieces.
Ollie, are you receiving?
I'm clearly ignoring you now, Ollie. I assumed that you would take the hint and drop it.
Dude, We really want to know what happened last night.
Fine. I'll generally describe to you the events of the evening.
All right, woo. Here we go with all of the juicy details of an exciting night from a guy that gets overly excited from quenching a blade.
So I decided to have a drink after dinner and found this quaint little pub that had a live band playing. I think their name was Barcode. Very entertaining.
Oh hell yeah. They are awesome. The lead singer is so hot.
Please, Ollie. Interrupting is so inconsiderate.
Sorry, mate.
Anyway, I was sitting at a secluded table sipping my cocktail and enjoying the band, when a ravaging older lady asked to join me. I invited her to sit, and we started a wonderful discussion starting with introductions, and it was quite wonderful. After a while, it seemed as though she was distracted because she kept looking over towards the bar. The distractions became more and more frequent, so I asked her if everything was all right. She apologized and asked to be excused for a few moments, but she assured me that she would return shortly to resume our conversation.
Dang, that seems rude.
Not at all, Ollie. She was very considerate. I kept a pretty close eye on her as she approached the bar. She moved pretty slow because of her age, and I was worried a bit. When she reached the bar, she had what looked like an intense exchange with a younger gentleman at the bar. They talked for a few minutes, and she started walking toward the back door of the pub, followed very closely by the man she was talking to. He looked quite upset, hands clenched into a fist and stomping on the floor. I never got a good look at his face, but it was clear that he was not happy, and quite intoxicated. As they left the pub, I couldn't help feeling very concerned about the whole situation. To distract myself, I turned my attention back to the band as they were really performing well. I would say top-notch.
Yeah, they are really fun.
After only a few minutes, that gorgeous woman re-entered through the back door and slowly made her way directly to my table. I stood and pulled out her chair for her, and she sat. We looked at each other for a moment, and I finally broke the silence. "What happened?" I asked. She replied, "As we were having our wonderful conversation, I couldn't help but be extremely annoyed by that annoying drunk man at the bar. I really did not want our beautiful moment to be ruined by him. Every time I looked over at the bar in disgust, he would just nod at me and flash the most creepy smile I have ever seen. I just couldn't take it any more." I asked her what she said to him outside, and she replied, "He didn't say anything. I beat the crap out of him. I left him crying in the alley."
Oh.
We laughed for what seemed like an hour. The rest of our evening was absolutely wonderful. The band even joined our table while they were on break. I think they laughed harder at the story than we did. What a wonderful evening. By the way, Ollie, what happened to your eye, and why are you limping?
I really don't want to talk about that.
Ha 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 ha. Ollie, she's like 70 years old. Ha 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 ha. She whipped you good. Ha 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 ha.
Here we can see Murphy tooling the cover of the sheath and punching a hole for the snap post. The tooling will wrap right around that hole.
Ha 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 ha. 70 years old. Ha 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 ha. Dang. Ha ha ha.
Shut up, Ollie. It's not funny. Her fists were like lightning. I couldn't believe it.
Ha 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 ha. Stop it. Ha ha ha.
As soon as she turned around. Bam. All I could see was stars. Bam. Bam. Then I lost consciousness.
Ha 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 ha. Quit. Ha ha ha.
While I was struggling for survival, I had lost the memory card that had the video of Murphy drilling and shaping the handle.
Ha ha ha. That lovely lady and I will be having dinner again this evening if you would like to join us.
No way, Ollie. If I ever see her again, I will be running the other way.
Very good then. Let's get back to this video before Murphy fires us again. It's time to fasten the post to the front cover. Kenneth has recessed the backside of the leather so the snap post won't scratch the blade as it is being inserted or drawn. Now the sheath is all glued up and almost ready to be dyed. We will need to drill the holes for the stitching, bevel the edges, and install the snap hardware.
I think I counted 106 holes. That's crazy. That milling machine is awesome. I need one.
We can see him beveling all of the edges. This will give the sheath a smooth feel in the hands.
Now he's installing the snap on the strap. It looks like he had to mill out a pocket for the snap because this leather is so thick and the snap's crimp wasn't long enough. That's pretty smart. Assembly of the sheath is complete. Excellent fit, sweet tooling, and hardware is all attached. Next step, dyeing the leather.
We've chosen light brown for the majority of the sheath. We'll be adding a black highlight to the edges later. At the end, we will be treating the leather with mink oil that will darken the color a few shades.
Here is the black accents on the edges. This will accent the sides nicely. He better be very careful with that dye. If it drips, it will run off the edge and stain the nice brown sides. Oh crap. Just like that. You idiot. Why weren't you more careful? What the hell are you going to do now to fix that? Jeez.
I'm sure he will find a clever way to conceal that error. It will be fine. Everything is fine. Right?
Temper.
Hand stitching using a saddle stitch. Note the cut-resistant gloves. Helps to prevent being stabbed.
Ah, that's how he covered it up. Not too bad, I guess. You get a B for effort.
Kenneth will now treat the open grain with gum tragacanth. I'll be honest. Nobody knows how to pronounce that word. This stuff bonds the loose fibers of the end grain together and makes it smooth and slick. Works great.
Let's sharpen this blade up. We are using the Wicked Edge knife sharpening system to get a professional edge that will cut right through air with no problem at all. Guaranteed, or your money back.
He's going to take the blade to the belt grinder first and get the bevels started. That will save wear and tear on the diamond stones.
To make sure that the bevels on both sides of the blade are meeting at a peak, he will be using a digital microscope to inspect the cutting edge. This thing is pretty sweet. Time for some personalization. This SMYB company really does everything, and I really like that. Let's engrave salmon fish in the handles and a custom name to the side of the blade.
This is the Atom Stack 70 diode laser, and it works very well in this shop. Well, Ollie, we made it to the end of another video.
Somehow we made it, mate.
We would like to thank everyone for joining us.
Yeah, for sure.
It has been another adventure with our master craftsman, Mr. Murphy.
It is very interesting watching him make these creations. Even though there are some stupid mistakes every now and then.
That's rich coming from a guy that got his butt whipped by a 70-year-old woman. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, let's turn it over to Kenneth to close out this video and give us some glamour shots of this knife. Take it away, Mr. Murphy.
All right, here we go. All finished up. Let's have a close-up view. This is a cable Damascus knife. Damascus guard. Oh. Damascus spacer. Not the greatest piece, but it's still pretty damn awesome. I think this was mesquite wood. I don't remember for sure. I apologize. Laser engravings. Other side of the blade has the same fish, trout. Super awesome touch mark. Check that out. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Focus. Custom laser engraving on the blade. It's a spear point blade. Top is not sharpened, but it's faux. Sharpened to 1600 grit ceramic and then stropped on a leather strop. It is pretty dang sharp, let me tell you that. Leather sheath, hand tooled, hand stitched, hand dyed. Pretty sure we talked about that already. The stupid drip. I don't know, it kind of came out nice for a correction. And made especially for you. These sections, the rest of this stuff is parts that will go into the kit that we deliver to the customer. We have some offcuts of the billet that the cable Damascus was made out of. These were different areas of the blade that were cut off and trimmed to size. And then these two little pieces right here are the corners of the guard. They came right off of here. Boop, boop, boop. You can kind of see the pattern if you look pretty close on those. Come on, camera guy. This is a piece of the billet that had to be cut off, but you can see all the different strands from the cable. Right at the end, they don't get forge welded very good, so you have to cut them off. But I thought that was a pretty interesting piece there. We have a piece of the handle material, if you want to play with it or burn it. A couple of pieces of leather. The main back piece is pretty thick. It's like 9 to 10, maybe even 11 ounce. And then the center piece from the welt. This one worked out pretty good because it turns out this piece of leather is the same thickness as this piece of steel. So it makes a really nice custom fit for the blade in the sheath. Next up will be included with the kit are the patterns for the leather. These might get folded up because they don't fit in envelopes very well, but this is the whole back piece that gets folded over to make the belt loop. And then this has patterns for the front cover, the welt, and the two different spacers that come in there to make the gap for the guard, so the knife fits flat in there. And this last piece up here is piece of wood that I used that was similar to the handle but not the same, similar hardness, and we used it to test the laser etching before we put it on the handle. Good thing we did, because holy cow, this one almost burned it halfway through the blade. So we lightened it up quite a bit, lightened it again, lightened it again, lightened it one last time, and then increased it 10% in size so it fits the blade a little better. Once that one was all done, I ended up tracing the blade and then etching the final size on this test piece. Took pictures of it, sent it to the customer. He said, "Go with it, move forward, young man." And then we bit the bullet and we did it on the blade itself. Kind of a scary step there because kind of hard to undo that. So that's the stuff that'll be included in the package. It has been an absolute pleasure making this particular knife. I really like the way it turned out. I kind of wish it didn't have a few of these inclusions in there, but that's the joy of cable Damascus. But it turned out really, really good and should cut some stuff. That's it for now. Thanks to the customer and congratulations on your graduation. That's it from now for SMYB. So contact us or go to my webpage if you need a knife belt. This one is next. Look at that. Ooh, preview. All right. We'll see you all on the next one. Later.